Hello! It's Ren Presents time! I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Belmont Saga, Part 1, Chapter 9, Knife. So last week, we learned a whole bunch of things. We learned why the sisters have always had such a keen interest in Lord Belmont, that he is in fact what they call the It Man, using the Baz reference, just a person who has the genetic stuff to safely receive their power, and he can do all kinds of things when they give him the power, although they can choose to take it away when they want. And then all the sisters he had programmability with had children, and then those children came and had programmability with him again, and so on and so forth. So there is a tower somewhere in the league, in the presence of Camelopardalis, the candle flame constellation, that is chock full of sisters that are of his blood, that he is basically the father of, but he will never see them, never talk to them, never give them a present or offer them any love because they're sisters, and he will never see them, which is unfortunate. But in that tower, they focus their power, and he can receive it, and he gets all sorts of cool abilities when he has it. And we find out that the reason he has this ability is not because he was predicted or a chosen one. It's just blind luck. The herbal medications his mother, Lady Jubilee, took altered her internal chemistry and her womb to some extent. And then his father, Lord Belmont the Older, craving a son after 29 daughters, took the legendary God Sperm potion from Baz, and an additional element or compound was introduced to the God Sperm potion, and what that chemical X is unknown at this time. And with this potion, with the unknown additive colliding in Lady Jubilee's herbal tainted womb, he was the result. And because of that, he is a manufactured It Man. And the sisters are just gaga, like, wow, we don't have to manipulate bloodlines, we don't have to have our celebrants have sex with people to bring these bloodlines into focus. We can just make an It Man whenever we damn well want. Isn't that cool? But they don't know what that chemical X is, what that unknown ingredient is, and that seems to be the holdup as far as that goes. We also learn about Lily, and that Lily is a woman made of sand that the sisters created to provide Lord Stenstrom with a number of things, with guidance, with protection, and with love, as she was supposed to satiate his love interest and send him moving unwittingly in a direction the sisters want to go. And now Lily's job is done, and therefore she has been deactivated unceremoniously, and quite sad, actually. Lord Stenstrom was heartbroken. The sisters at first are like, oh, just get past yourself. But then they come to realize that what they did to him was cruel, and his heart is broken, and they didn't mean for that to happen. And to make up for it, to atone for that, the sisters are always atoning for this or that, are they not? They created a new Hermelane. They removed the stain on his soul, which they had put there, not his mother. The sisters did it. They created a new Hermelane that, as long as he wore it in his mask, he would not feel the horrors of lost love, of his broken heart. He would feel none of that. It would all be taken away. And that one day, his true love, or an actual flesh and blood woman, will unmask him and take his heart. But that is another day. We continue this conversation on whatever planet they happen to be on. at the moment with the sisters, and they reveal more. And then they're going to offer Lord Aram and Private Tara gifts for being their fist's companion, Lord Stenstrom's companion. They believe that their past fists, like Hama and Atterjack of Want, went nuts with the power that the sisters gave them because they gave it to them too much of the time, that eventually it would just rip through their minds and drive them nuts. And also they said their Itmen were alone, and that having companions, having friends and people who love him would help guard his soul and keep it safe. But of course, if you look back, Hama of Telmus Falls was not alone. He had a wife, he had children. Atterjack of Want also, when he was alone after his ill-fated trip to the stars to take care of the Kestrels, and all his Inuian Monomas died, including his wife, he was alone at that point. He went freaking nuts. Darius Jones, the naked guy from Baz, he had Princess Gallia with him, though he jilted her at the altar. But the thing about Princess Gallia is that she's supposed to be a giant, just like Hama's wife, Amira of the Sword. And she's supposed to have 20 arms and 20 pairs of breasts. I tend to get carried away with these things sometimes, but she had 20 arms, 20 breasts. And while she was waiting at the altar for Darius Jones, people could come and pluck an arm off of her, and it would sprout into a whole new, perfect copy of Princess Gallia, although not giant sized, normal sized, and they would go off and adventure. And these 20 versions of Princess Gallia supposedly did all sorts of heroic things, but that's a story for another time. Today, let's continue this conversation with the sisters, and we'll see what gifts they have for Tara and Aram. Should be cool, should be fun. Let's proceed right now. Part 1, Chapter 9, Knife. Protect us from evil, Lord Belmont. The Kestrels are intertwined in the fabric of the League, and you shall save us from them. We have prepared you to protect us. There are others serving this cause as well. Your new friends, they are at your side. There is this great ship which we have given to you, and look, there is another as well. From out of nowhere, a slim female appeared before Stenstrom. She was about 5'7" in height, slender and silent. She wore a loose-fitting scarlet robe that ended just above her knees. Her legs were covered in black wrappings, and her arms and hands were also covered in black. She wore a nimble pair of black shoes. On her head was a featureless black sash, completely covering her face. "Who is this? A black hat?" Stenstrom asked. "Allow us to introduce Knife, a Shadowtech female who is in the service of the Sisterhood. Not a painter, not a hammer. She is of Knife class, mobile, solitary, and deadly. It is through her that we shall command you. Where she goes, you will follow. She is your enemy. You will pursue her, dog her every step, flush her out time and time again, and it is there you will find signs of the Kestrel and destroy them. Our Lord Walther had his Sedgwick of Cold, his constant enemy, and you shall have your knife, your ready knife." "I will not do this," Stenstrom said. "It is done, Lord Belmont. And you will notice we have not asked you. We are telling you. We have not labored this long to be denied. You are our fist, square with it or not. Your flesh belongs to the League, as do we all. You cannot compel me to do something I do not choose to do." "Oh? Can we not?" "We are dedicated to the preservation of the League, and in that task we are prepared to do what needs to be done, even if that includes sacrificing ourselves, Knife, and you in the process. Consider the scores asleep in the tower outside, your flesh and blood. Consider Knife. She has given her life in this effort as well. Look what she has sacrificed. No hearth, no home, no loving lord at her side. She would have made you a fine wife. But instead, she is alone, and she is your knife. And all out of love for the League. She is a hero, though none but you three will ever know that. She shall be a dark spirit, despised, feared, her name reviled in the posts, forever your enemy. And where she goes, you will follow, else she will create chaos and shed blood, all on your hands, should you choose not to follow and stop her. Knife stepped forward. She pulled her mask off. Underneath there was a face of a pretty young woman, blue-eyed, sandy-haired. She looked at Stenstrom hard. "I wanted you to see me," she said quietly. "You will never see my face again, nor hear me speak. My service to the League begins now, and there shall be no mercy for neither you or me. My service shall end with my death." She put her mask back on, turned, and vanished. Sisters, this is barbaric," Aram said. They turned to him. "Oh, but we are barbaric, Lord Aram. We are passionate, savage, ruthless, brutal, and determined. We are the dark arm of the sisterhood, seldom seen in public. We are not the smiling sisters who walk the streets. We are not the sisters who drink tea in the houses of the great lords. We are the ones kept in the shadows, scorching the earth and punishing those needing punished. We are the slayers and the death dealers. That does not mean we do not love the League any less, or feel not for a man whose heart we broke. We do what must be done out of love, and so shall Knife, and so shall you." "I shall not," Stenstrom said. The sisters smiled. "Ah, how nice. Suitably outraged and demure. You play your part well. But now, to your reward. And we do not simply offer a single reward. Our rewards are ongoing. We can offer you most anything you desire. I told you I don't want any part of this." They ignored him. "Do you want this little girl here? We shall give her to you if you wish, in place of your Lillian of Gamboa. You may do what you will with her. Love her, cherish her, abuse her, kill her. It's your choice. Tara is my friend." "Oh, yes, indeed." One of the sisters waved her hand, and before Stenstrom an image appeared. In it, he could see Lieutenant Gwendolyn walking around on her bridge. She seemed concerned as she prowled the floor. "How about this one?" the sisters asked. "This Xenon woman. Is she your friend too? She's looking for you even now, and she is frantic, though she'll not find you here. She's a firm, strapping girl, will provide you with many fine children." "I've never met Lieutenant Gwendolyn in person." "Well then, look!" On the bridge of the Demophalon John, Stenstrom could see Gwendolyn and the crew busily moving about, and there was Knife, red-robed and black-masked, apparently cloaked in some fashion. She walked up behind Gwendolyn and raised her hands, clenching them into claws. "It begins, Paymaster," the sister said through Tara. "Knife is on the prowl." "What is she doing?" "She is doing her duty. She is forcing you to act, to follow her, just as Sedgwick of Cold forced the Mad Lord to follow him. No telling what she might do on that ship. Might find the captain in pieces. Might find them all in pieces. The ship that became a ghost ship, its crew mysteriously slaughtered. No telling how many people she will be willing to sacrifice to compel you to do your duty. Do you wish that on your soul, Lord Belmont, that you could have stopped her and did nothing? The Xenon woman is moments from death, Lord Belmont, another sister said through Tara. Stenstrom stared at the image in horror. He saw a knife move her gloved fingers, and a small cut appeared on Gwendolyn's right cheek. It began gushing blood. The captain, apparently not aware she'd been cut, continued doing what she was doing. Somebody pointed at her, and she reached up and touched her face. Horrified, Knife's hands went to Gwendolyn's throat. Stenstrom couldn't take it anymore. Sisters, you said I was to have a reward, and I wish Captain Gwendolyn as my reward, safe and unharmed, along with her crew. And why, Paymaster? This woman, as you say, means nothing to you. And if we are not mistaken, she threatened to physically assault you earlier. We got off to a rough start. It was my fault. I insulted her. She had a job to do, like it or not. Do not harm her, sisters. I am warning you. The sisters' eyes widened, and then they smiled again. Very well. Be it so. On the Demophalon John's bridge, Knife disappeared, and Lieutenant Gwendolyn turned away, her face bleeding, unaware of the death she had just avoided. A fine choice, sir, the sister said. She will bear that cut upon her face as a scar for the rest of her life. Again, she is fine, strong woman, your match in many ways. She is yours, now and forever. Stenstrom shook his head. I simply did not want Gwendolyn or her crew harmed. You love her, Lord Belmont, the sister said. I do not know Captain Gwendolyn. I love Lily, though your sorcery has currently drained it from me, he replied. As we said, Lillian of Gamboa, as you know her, does not exist. Your fate is with Gwendolyn, Lady Apprentice, Gwendolyn the Scarred. She will remove the mask and its protective hermelin from your face. Stenstrom made to object, but Tara cut him off. And you, Private Tara, what do you want? The sisters released Tara, and she staggered to the floor. Stenstrom knelt over her and took her hand. She wheezed for a moment. Tara, he said, say nothing. You needn't be a part of this. She spoke, this time with her own voice. I want to keep doing what I've been doing. I like knowing things I shouldn't know and doing things I shouldn't be able to do. I want to continue. The sisters took her back over. Ah, she said, most practical. Look, you shall have your wish. As Stenstrom watched, the molly around her neck somehow began to melt into her flesh, and after a moment it was gone. There. Now you may continue as you've been. But the demons will come for her soul, Aram said. As we've established, Lord Aram, we are the demons. We take exception when mystical objects such as the molly are used too much, and we punish the practitioner, sometimes with death. As Private Tara is in the service of our fist, we will waive that punishment. As long as she serves our Lord, our fist, she need not fear. Aram stepped forward. Sisters, he said quietly, you said I too was to have a reward. Tara, fully possessed by the sisters, sauntered up to him. Indeed we did, Lord Aram. You showed great spirit in assisting Lord Belmont. We've not seen that from you before. Therefore you will have a reward, the first of many. What is it to be? Aram stood there. I would like you to stare me for the answer. I'll not say it out loud. The sisters sitting on their couches tittered. One of them leaned forward, eyes wide, and stared him. Stenstrom watched. The sisters' eyes were big and fixed on Aram. They were the eyes of a beast, a wild animal. He noticed Aram twitching under her stare. He was in pain. After a few moments, the sister leaned back and gave him an open-lipped smile. "Oh, really?" Tara said under her influence. She snorted. "You feel ignored? You feel slighted, do you? You showed us nothing, Lord Aram. You were a cowardly simpleton, not worth our time, as was your whole family. Bad chefs, bad brant ball players, conceited liars for brother, and you, using your Molly to win a pie-eating contest. Again, though, perhaps we misjudged you, underestimated you, just like Admiral Derleth and everybody else, seeing nothing but the frail little man with a morbid hobby. You hide your admirable qualities well, but they are there nevertheless, and on your tiny shoulders rests the soul of our fist. Very well, Lord Aram. Make your choice." The light from the lantern panned away. The fair guise the sisters had been wearing passed with it. There they were again, strange, elongated, somewhat sinister. Aram stood there a moment, and then he walked a step or two and took his place in front of the sister who had just stared him. Slowly, her wild animal eyes fixed on him, she stood up. Sitting there on her couch, it was hard to tell just how tall she was, but, as Stenstrom had suspected, she, standing erect, had to be at least 8 feet tall. Towering over Aram, she pulled off her headdress and tossed it aside. Cinder-black hair came spilling out of her wrappings. She opened and closed her fists, knuckles popping, her fingers moving in a spidery fashion. She appeared to want to eat Aram. To his credit, he stood there and did not flinch. Tara hovered next to Aram. "Oh, we are going to enjoy this, Lord Aram. You have made an interesting and exotic choice. Again, you have impressed us with your unexpected bravery today, and we shall make it worth your while. Again, this shall be but the first of many rewards you shall enjoy." Tara leaned into him, fully possessed. She started speaking in the first person. The sisters rarely did that, and the things she said gave Stenstrom considerable pause. Her voice was laced with savagery. "I am going to take you to places seldom seen, and I am not going to be gentle. I am going to burn you, Aram. Burn you." The sister reached out and grabbed him by the nape of his shirt. She lifted him off the ground and pulled him close, and she licked him, slowly, passionately. Stenstrom, shocked, couldn't look any further. He turned away. Tara spoke. "The meeting is over. You two may leave. Lord Aram shall be returned to you tomorrow." As commanded, Stenstrom began walking away, not really of his own accord. Soon Tara, released from the sisters, joined him. "Belle," she piped, out of breath. "What is Aram doing? That sister, she's not just a sister. She's one of the grand abbesses, I think, and she's gonna—" "He's a grown man, Tara, and the sisters aren't gonna hurt him. If that's what he wants, let him experience it himself." But Belle!" Tara stumbled and fell to the floor, her sideburns touching the stone. Stenstrom helped her stand. One more time, Tara seized up and was possessed by the sisters. "You will follow Knife, and you will look for the signs of the Kestrel, and where you find them, you will destroy them. Your first assignment is at hand. Do not fail." As they exited the building, they heard the sister speak in her own voice. It was harsh, tinny, like the voice of a demonic child.
"Come along, Aram. I'm ready for you."
"And On that note, we conclude part 1, chapter 9, Knife. So the sisters introduce Stenstrom to his adversary, Knife, a Shadow Tech female, one in the employ of the Sisterhood, who, to the public at large, or about the League, will be a criminal, a killer, a villain. And wherever she goes, she's under the direction of the sisters, and Lord Stenstrom is supposed to follow her. When he gets to where she's going, he will find signs of the Kestrel oligarchy, the old baddies from the Temple of the Exploding Head series, and he will destroy them. So he mentions Lord Sedgwick of Cold, the pirate of Remnath, and we saw Lord Cold briefly in the previous book. And Lord Cold was the main adversary of the Mad Lord of Walther, the two continuously foiling each other, the Lord Sedgwick doing this and that, this scheme and that scheme, and the Mad Lord coming to save the day, so to speak. He did it at Rustum Labyrinth when Lord Cold showed up to kidnap and rob Stenstrom's family, and then the Mad Lord shows up and takes down Lord Cold's men. It's going to be the same thing, only with Knife, where Knife will be this shadowy fugitive and felon, ever eluding Lord Belmont, leading him on a merry chase here, there, and everywhere, and where she goes, supposedly he will find signs of the Kestrels, like a hidden lair or what have you, and destroy them. And then Knife makes her way onto the Demophalon John, as the sisters want to give Lieutenant Gwendolyn to Stenstrom as a gift. And he says, no, I don't even know her. I think we're becoming friends, but I don't really know Lieutenant Gwendolyn. And they're like, well, look, Knife will just dispose of her for you. And he sees Knife's hands clenched into claws at her throat. And then she cuts Gwendolyn across the face with that cut that they saw in the lantern's beam earlier. And it is a micro cut, so she's bleeding hard. She could bleed out from a wound like that. And as the sister said, she will bear that scar for the rest of her life and be known in some quarters as Gwendolyn the Scarred. And then Tara said, I want to, when they offer her a gift, she's like, I want to keep doing what I've been doing. I like knowing things I should know and being able to do things I shouldn't be able to do. They bury the Molly into her flesh, and they tell her, you don't have to worry about demons coming to for your soul, because we are the demons, and as long as you serve our fist, we'll waive that punishment. So Tara gets that as an initial gift, and then Aram's gift, and he makes the sister stare it out of him. And apparently, as he's mentioned many times, he's never had programmability with the sisters, while Stenstrom has had a lot of programmability, and he envied that. And he that was his gift. He wants programmability with the sisters, and instead of taking the modern tack, as often is the case, where it would be the sisters would be angered and disgusted at being in this male gaze, instead they are thrilled, they are impressed. They're like, wow, you want to have programmability with us? We didn't think you had it in you, but fine, that's what you want, you pick. And he picked one, and apparently she's one of the 25 grand abbesses, and that's nothing to sneeze at. They are grand eminences, and they are incredibly powerful. So this 8-foot tall grand abbess picks him up off the ground with one hand, starts licking him, and is gonna take him and do nasty things with him. Programmability. That's what he wants, and that's what he's gonna get. So we conclude that chapter. Next chapter is only a few pages long. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So let's go ahead and knock that out too. This is part 1, chapter 10, Parting Gifts. So let's get to it right now. Like two scolded children, Stenstrom and Tara return to the bridge without Aram. The place was a darkened, flickering mess. "Well," Tara said, "I guess I better start getting this place back in order. It was nice having the lantern while it lasted. I guess the sisters don't want nothing to be easy on this trip, do they?" "Oh, I suppose not. Better get a fix on our position." He felt dizzy and seated himself in his chair. Lily. Where was his heart? Where was his love? He searched for it. Not there to be found. Just a confused, empty spot where his heart ought to be. His feelings ripped from him by the sisters. Tara went into the office and picked up her sextant. She looked the horizon over, full of stars. "Well, we're still in Zero, Camelopardis region. Good news is we're really, really far from Jury's Belt. You can't even see it with the naked eye from here. The bad news is we're also really, really far from Baz, too. We'll never make our brandy deadline now. We'd be lucky to get to Baz in under a year." She popped back onto the bridge, still holding her sextant. "I suppose we'll need to set sail and get moving. We'll run into League traffic sooner or later, and perhaps we can get a lift home." She passed Stenstrom and went to the helm, mumbling to herself. Okay, a couple pegs larboard, and then a plus 250Z, and that should get us pointed at Corvus. Tara kicked the floor levers and struggled with the pegs. Creation, where's Aram when I need him? Messing with the helm is more art than science. I think we should be good. I hope he comes back soon. Me too. She suddenly dropped her sextant and doubled over. Stenstrom flew out of his chair and went to her. "Tara, what's wrong?" Sick. I feel sick. The sisters do that to me every time." "Sit down and rest." She shook her head. No. Let me get some of the systems going first, and then we'll adjust our orientation and take off." Tara stumbled to the darkened missives panel and began making her calculations. "We're going to have to start from scratch without the lantern." Stenstrom picked up her sextant. "Did you notice how quiet it was out in the ship as we returned? I recall no groans, no oppressive noises or feelings of dread and cold breezes. No half-heard screams. I suppose what they said is true, that they were the demons haunting this vessel, and now that they've announced their intentions, they've cleared the ship of their influence." Tara finished her calculations. "I told you, the sisters are way creepy. Hey, get ready for the jolt. I'm firing the Westminster's mains." Stenstrom returned to his chair and felt the tug of the Westminster's engines push the ship ahead. "How long's this burn, Tara?" 5 minutes. That'll get us off and running, at least." Tara slumped over, holding her stomach, her sideburns dangling. "You still not feeling well?" he asked. "What's hurting? Is it your stomach?" "Oh, my stomach, my head, everything." "Well, as soon as this burn's over with, turn in and get some sleep." But the bridge? "We can worry about the bridge later. I want you to rest. Agreed? In the meantime, I think I can whip up something to help make you feel better." Thanks, Belle." He stood and went into his office and produced a red, blue, and yellow holy stone. Conjuring up a Marzible dagger, he scored them open and sorted through the dried ingredients to calm Tara's system. Through the window, he could see the distant bluish glow of the Westminster's engines as it burned. As he mixed the selected ingredients together, he noticed something. A large leather-bound book sat on the sill. The ship shuddered and the Westminster went out, the burn complete. He threw the book onto his desk, scraped the ingredients into an emptied holystone shell, shook it up, and took it out to Tara. She looked miserable, slumped in the chair. "Burn's done, Belle," she mumbled. "Here, hold this. It should make you feel a little better." She took it. "What is it?" "Just a little something to quiet your system. Go on, stretch out and get some sleep. When's our next burn due?" "Oh, 10 hours, I guess." "You think Aram will be back soon?" "He should be." Tara's voice was groggy. I want him back. You, me, and Aram. We're family. She pulled her coat and boots off and situated herself on the padded missive's chair. He took off his HRN and draped it over her. The large coat was easily big enough to serve as a blanket, covering Tara's small body. So, guess I don't need to worry about demons coming to get me no more, she mumbled, her words slurred. I suppose not. I didn't mind. I liked you watching over me. Made me feel safe. Moments later, still holding the Holy Stone, Tara was out. Stenstrom returned to his office and got the book he'd seen. It was a book about monsters, summoned creatures, and other fanciful beings. It was elaborate and hand-painted. It looked like a book belonging to the sisters. A navy blue silk bookmark was placed a quarter of the way through the thick pages. He turned to the bookmarked page. Nargle. Nargles are any of a number of summoned, invoked, or otherwise artificially created creatures made for purposes of servitude and or task fulfillment. If this was a book belonging to the sisters, what was it doing here? Did they leave it for him to find to emphasize the point that Lily was not a real woman? Perhaps attempting to appeal to his sense of logic. As Stenstrom read on, he discovered that nargles could be made of gold, silver, or bronze. They could be fibrous, made of wood, rock, or gemstones. They could be elemental of earth, fire, water, or air. They could also be made of dead flesh, offal, bones, and ashes. And then he came to an interesting subheading: Sand Nargle. Sand nargles are generally of least construction and least potency compared with other more advanced type of nargles. They are comparatively easy to assemble with common materials. They have a rudimentary intelligence and can be programmed to perform simple tasks with great reliability. They, unlike most nargles, have multiple forms. The first being a free-formed, rotating column of sand, indistinguishable from a cyclone or a dust storm. Secondly, their desired program form, which can be plant, animal, or human. Such versatility makes them highly desirable as guards, spies, and warriors. However, there is a great danger regarding the prolonged use of sand nargles, as they tend to dream that they are alive instead of being a mere construct. At such times, they can become spiteful and rebellious of their masters. They are also easily taintable and turned from their original task or intent. See black sand. So there it was. Lily was a semi-intelligent, conjured woman of sand who possibly dreamed she was alive, but was not. Don't ever let anyone tell you what I feel isn't real, she once said. Despite the sisters Hermelin suppressing his feelings for Lily, he felt sad and somewhat lost. He fetched some paper and a marker from his coat and scribbled down a few notes. He put the book away and went back out to the bridge. He sat down next to the sleeping Tara and leaned against the chair. Before long, Tara's little hand came sneaking out from under the HRN and made its way to his shoulder. Something small and golden rested in her hand. Tara's voice was groggy. I took your locket, Belle. I lifted it. I thought you might want it later, so I lifted it. She faded back to sleep. There was Lily's locket, a gift he'd kept with him for years. He opened it. Inside was Lily's smiling face, painted with meticulous skill. There were also 3 small shards of metal rattling within, the Hermelins from his mask. Tara must have lifted them too. Comforted, he closed the locket, leaned against Tara, and slept. And with that, we conclude Part 1, Chapter 10, Parting Gifts. So, as they make their way back to the bridge without Aram, because he's getting fucked by a sister right now, they notice, or Stenstrom notices, there's no groans, no more oppressive noises or sounds in the dark. Apparently, the sisters were telling the truth, that they are the ones who were haunting the Seeker. They get back to the bridge, and Tara makes some calculations and burns the Westminster manually, because they don't have a lantern to do it automatically anymore, just so they could get moving. And at where they are, on the near zero, coordinate zero, they're never going to make their deadline to Baz. It's going to take a long time to get to Baz at the speeds they can muster. So they're just kind of moving aimlessly, hoping that some League traffic will come across them and pick them up. Stenstrom then and Tara is feeling pretty sick after the sister's possession of her, and hoping to help her feel a little better, Stenstrom whips up a holy stone that she can hold that will help calm her system. And then he finds a book that had been placed in his office, and it's a book of monsters and creatures. And turning to a bookmark page, it talks about Nargles. And Nargles are summoned spirit, I guess sort of like Frankenstein's monster. They can be assembled, put together, and set to a specific set of tasks. And Lily apparently is what's known as a sand Nargle, which is a semi-intelligent, easily put together, easily programmed Nargle. It has two forms. One is like a rotating column of sand that kind of looks like a tornado. And if you recall in book 1, when Stenstrom was having his face-off with the astral traveler, a tornado, what looked like a tornado, came down out of the sky, and the encounter with the astral traveler, the woman in gray, was over with. That tornado dropping down out of the sky at just the right moment, that was Lily in her sand Nargle alternate form. You know, it looks like a tornado. It's not a tornado. It's made out of sand instead of wind and debris. But that's what that was, dropping down, and that again emphasizes her role as a protector, where she was protecting him from possible harm. You also find out that Nargles can be turned from their initial task, and they can become rebellious and spiteful because they dream that they're alive when they actually aren't. Interesting reading, feeling exhausted with everything. Lord Stenstrom sits down next to Tara. She wakes up for a moment and gives him Lily's locket. And if you recall, those sisters kind of pulled it out of his pocket and sort of just threw it to the side, like this locket is meaningless. And Tara, having quick little fingers, lifted it when nobody was paying attention, and she gives it back to him like, you know, I thought you might want this. And sure enough, it makes him feel a little better. So, we learned a lot in the last 2 chapters, and the coming chapter, part 1, chapter 11, we will learn a bit more. We will learn about the connection that Tara, Aram, and Lord Belmont have had with each other throughout their lives, how one central person connects them all. And we will learn that, chapter 11, the Lady in Gray. So, until then, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.